Greetings viewers and welcome back to Just Short of Fantastic. I, like many others, was shocked by the news of Anthony Bourdain's suicide last month. And then I read his two memoirs, Kitchen Confidential and Medium Raw, and now I'm not surprised. For the record, I'm not making this video to debate the issue of suicide, and I'm going to withhold my own opinions on the subject, but I really want to talk about Bourdain and his legacy. How suicide was just one of a few highly likely outcomes for him, considering his lifestyle and the world's current socioeconomic political atmosphere. Now, we don't know exactly why he chose to end his own life, but if you've read his books, particularly Medium Raw, it is easy to cherry-pick moments throughout which point to this outcome. He even came out and admitted to being dangerously self-abusive and suicidal in the aftermath of his first marriage's failure. Despite having a privileged childhood with two well-adjusted and loving parents, Bourdain confesses to growing up miserable and angry, with a piece of his soul missing that he spent his life trying to overcome with drugs, work, and travel. Bourdain was honest about his past drug addictions and adamant that he hadn't wandered blindly into that life, that it had been a choice made by him with his eyes wide open, and one that he consistently told young people who idolized him not to make for themselves. He insisted that there was and is nothing heroic about kicking a drug addiction. You either do it or you don't. He recognized the flaws and injustices in the system at an early age and felt betrayed that the world was neither fair nor perfect, no matter what the adults in his life told him. He was sensitive to these injustices that he saw in the world, but felt powerless to change them. Arguably, he wasn't powerless as a middle-class white male, but he was made to feel that way. One could argue that he used his privilege to access alcohol and drugs in order to use them to escape these cruel realities of life instead of fighting them head-on. His second book, which came out only 8 years ago, holds a threat of impending doom, not just for the USA, but for the world at large. Doom brought about by an apocalypse of the inbred elite and the spreading tentacles of an empire of mediocrity, pushed by TV networks and magazines getting rich off the dumbing down and localizing of what had once been a masterful and skilled artistry celebrated and practiced across the globe. I have zero doubt that Anthony Bourdain truly feared the future we are facing as a result of all this good-for-business rebranding. And speaking of rebranding, I need to make a confession. I self-harmed in high school. And if you asked me back then, why are you doing this? I could not give you an answer. Looking back at that time as an adult, with the wisdom gained from worldly experience and the knowledge gained from a lot of reading, I can tell you that it was the result of repressed rage. A rage against ingrained systems and injustices that I felt so deep inside me. But as a teenager in a small town, I didn't have the vocabulary to name these injustices, let alone the confidence, courage, or support I needed to confront them. So I took those feelings of rage and powerlessness and I turned them back on myself. And I did it for years. Like Anthony Bourdain. For an angry, miserable, sensitive fugitive from normalcy who never intended, by his own admission, to live past 30, I'm now more shocked that Bourdain lived past 60 than I was to hear the news that he committed suicide at age 61. But the world was shocked because of his legacy, his years as a TV host, a spokesperson for leaving your comfort zone behind and broadening your horizons. He encouraged people to travel, to try new things, to enjoy the wonders that this planet has to offer us while we can. Because the world isn't a fair or perfect place, and what brings us joy today could be gone tomorrow. Anthony Bourdain wasn't a hero, but he was an inspiration to a whole lot of people. We owe it to people like Bourdain, who carried this torch for as long as they could, to pick it up and to push forward against the system's mediocrity and to fight these injustices. If you are feeling or have ever felt depressed, anxious, or outraged, you are not alone and you are not powerless. In the words of Anthony Bourdain, it's been an adventure. We took some casualties over the years. Things got broken, things got lost, but I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Let us then go forward with vigor. Until next time, stay just short of fantastic.